Remember, the energy you bring to your classroom matters. I heard about the importance of energy when I was working in a food bank with a man named Marcus. Like all strangers do, we started to talk to each other about our work. I told him about my research, and he told me about his favorite teacher, Mrs. Pope. He said Mrs. Pope was his high school home economics teacher, and he loved home ec because on Fridays they cooked. And often they got to eat some of what they cooked. And on this one particular Friday, he remembers making chocolate chip cookies. When they cooled, Mrs. Pope said, "You can each eat one." But he knew she saw him put 3 more in his pocket when she asked him to stay after class. Marcus said he expected a lecture, maybe a referral to the principal, or to be excluded from cooking again. But instead, Mrs. Pope asked a question. "Are you hungry?" And he said he was. He told his teacher that his father left a couple of months ago, his mom wasn't doing well, there wasn't much food at home, and their electricity had been off for a while. Yes, he was hungry. Then he noticed Mrs. Pope looked down at the spots on his shirt. And she said, "You know, there's a wash machine and dryer here in the home ec classroom. If you bring your clothes in, you can wash them here and pick them up after school." So he brought some clothes by the next day, and he remembers coming back after school to get his clothes. They were neatly folded and they smelled so good. And next to the clothes was a brown paper bag with his name written on it. When he looked inside the bag, he found cans of soup, crackers, and other snacks. Marcus told me his clothes were washed in that home ec classroom more times than he can count. And his teacher and the ladies in her church group were the only reason he ate most nights. He said, "Mrs. Pope is gone now, and I can't repay her for her kindness. So instead, I try to pay it forward by working in the food bank." Marcus and Mrs. Pope are such a great example of staying in the sweet spot. There were so many parts of Marcus's situation that Mrs. Pope couldn't control. But what she could do was feed a young man's body, mind, and soul. And by doing so, she changed the trajectory of his life. When we focus on that sweet spot, that intersection between what really matters and what we can control, we can stay longer, we can grow stronger, we can help our students, and we can keep making ripples.